Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Fantastic. Thank you for being here today. My name is Jones Angel, and I have the honor to MC what promises to be a memorable and probably a little emotional afternoon as we remember and honor Stuart Scott, a giant in the sports broadcasting profession and without a doubt, a true target. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize a few special guests. We are honored to have several members of Stuart's family and his friends here with us today. Thank you so much for being here. We have some members of his ESPN family with us as well. Sage Steele, Jerry Babylon are here. Thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. And we'd like to thank Capital Broadcasting, one of Stuart's very first employers, for sponsoring the event. We have a fantastic program set up for you, a lot of distinguished speakers, much more important than me, but we wanted to begin the event with a video, a special tribute produced by the UNC School of Media and Journalism to honor Stu.
Hi again, thanks for letting Sports Center flow. Alongside Rich Eisen, I'm Stuart Scott.
Every night before I went to sleep, I made sure to catch the latest highlights on Sports Center.
For me, it was always must-see TV to check out Stuart Scott, 11 o'clock on Sports Center.
Stuart Scott, he was the extra roommate for all of us in college. We knew he went to UNC. We had him on our TV. We welcomed him into our homes. It was awesome to be represented.
UNC is like nobody Duke has faced, and this rivalry is like no other in college hoops.
He was one of the biggest and baddest personalities at ESPN, and someone that we all draw so much from.
I asked him to do a promo for our Carolina Week student news show. Without blinking an eye, he looked right in our camera and said, "Yo, what's good? I'm Stuart Scott, and I'm not anchoring Sports Center. I'm watching Carolina Week. Booyah!"
For me, booyah is just, it's an expression of energy. It's a short, quick, strong, fun, dynamic expression of energy. So you can use it in football, you can use it in baseball, a nice tennis winner right down the baseline, you can use it there. Can't really use it on a putt, really, because booyah is like, it's loud. You gotta talk like this in golf anyway. But like Tiger on the tee box, ripping like a 315-yard drive, that could be a booyah, just energy. Strong, booyah! Energy.
It was really just his whole lexicon that influenced me just in the way I talk. As a young sports anchor, you want to find your voice, right?
One thing that I always loved about Stuart Scott is that he wasn't afraid to be himself.
Understand, whatever is different from you is just that. It's just different.
I was in college trying to find my voice, wondering how I could be great, how I could be different.
Carolina 5-0 in games between number 1 and number 2 ranked teams. Nobody in Duke has won a game in Chapel Hill. First half Duke, a 6-point lead, but Antoine Jameson about to blow up. And Cody Beach Jameson, the ACC's leading scorer. 12th scorer in the nation, gives the Heels a 2-point lead. And then Jameson, out back the party that rocks your body. 9-11 shooting in the first half. Then you throw Steve Wojciechowski, you like apples? How do you like them apples?
He showed me that I better stick to news. I don't know how he did what he did off the top of his head with that wit, but that was his domain, and I'm perfectly content staying in news. I don't know many people who could come close to how he could describe a play, whether it was basketball, baseball, football, college sports, pro sports. The guy was a genius on the fly.
In my first on-air job, I'm ad-libbing high school football highlights one Friday night, and a kid jumps over the pile for a touchdown. I instinctively say, "You got to rise up."
And then saying you got to rise up, Mark.
That's Stuart Scott. I want to copy him, but his catchphrases are just ingrained in my head from probably the thousands of times watching him on TV.
Stuart Scott is way about reminding you that sports are supposed to be fun. Whether you're playing them or watching them, or reporting on them, you should be having fun.
Thank you, Stuart Scott, for showing us what it means to have passion and enthusiasm. To let your personality shine and be a part of this amazing family we all get to call Tar Heel Nation.
We're all over the place. And every time we see one another, it's always the same thing. Yo, what up, Tar Heel? We just saw, what's up, Daria? We all do it. Well, all of us except for she was. I saw she, I said, yo, what up, Daria? We just stared at it. I'd have no choice but to act team up twice and throw out the game.
I graduated from UNC in 2006. So when I started, we had a couple lackluster years in Carolina basketball. Years that maybe seasons we want to forget about. But when we hired Roy Williams as our head coach, we started late night with Roy. And you know who got us fired up for that? Stuart Scott. I'll never forget when he came out there, we're all screaming and yelling, and he points to the UNC logo in the middle of the center court. He said,
That's what it's all about right there. That's on the floor, that's on your shirt, that's in your heart.
and that was awesome. Because finally we had something to be proud about. Finally we got fired up.
After late night was over, I walked over to him, hoping he would recognize me. And not only did he recognize me, but Stuart Scott gave me his cell phone number.
He gave me his personal cell phone number and told me, if you ever have any questions, just let him know. And believe me, I did several times.
One of our supervisors at the time actually introduced us, and I can just remember how nervous I was, but he was just so supportive. And more than anything, he was a real person.
I called him and he picked up, and we had a really good conversation. We talked about what I wanted to do in journalism. Stu gave me some really good advice and just encouragement.
Every day that I'm here in this studio and living out my dream, I get to live through him, his passion, his energy, just everything that he gave to the sports industry, to journalism, and just to other young people who want to live out their dream.
What really left a major impression on me was the fact that Stuart Scott was at ESPN. He had made it in this industry, and he was still willing to pay it forward and help students like myself who were just trying to break into this business.
He was absolutely transcended in the sports broadcasting world. Stuart Scott was a superhero to me in sports journalism, and I attribute him as to the reason why I get to do this every day.
Thank you, Stu, for making all of us better people for knowing you.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you to one of my favorites and someone I'm a huge fan of, Mr. Stuart Scott.
Hugs and hand pounds.
Stuart Scott, you are, and always will be,
As cool.
Was the other side of the pillow.
As the other side of the pillow.
Can I get a witness from the congregation?
Oh yeah.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? Stuart left an indelible mark on sports broadcasting with his unique style and clear passion for his job and his life. You know, I didn't know Stu well at all. We met a couple of times when he was here for the late night event, and we just exchanged pleasantries. But I felt like I knew Stu really well through his personality and through his charisma. And I would venture to say there are a lot of sports fans and a lot of Tar Heels that feel the same way. You know, Stu wasn't just a sports journalist, though. He was an entertainer. He brought in a younger, cooler generation of sports fans. But it was his courage to lead change in the sports broadcasting industry which really set him apart. He revolutionized the profession by bringing his personality, his life experiences, his culture into American homes every single night. You know, after Stuart's passing, Jeff Pearlman of Sports Illustrated wrote this, which I thought really summed up Stuart's impact well. He said, and I quote, "Scott brought color to SportsCenter, but not merely skin color. He brought flair and pizzazz and oomph and heart and soul. He was, by all accounts, authentic and genuine. He sounded like who he was." And who Stu was a Tar Heel. The state of North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, and Carolina Athletics impacted Stuart's life just as he significantly impacted each one of those entities. You know, numerous important milestones in his life happened right here in North Carolina. Now, he was born in Chicago, but graduated from R.J. Reynolds High School in Winston-Salem, just an hour and 15 minutes down the road. Graduated from UNC in 1987 with a degree in radio, television, and motion pictures. And one of his first professional stops before making it to ESPN was right here in North Carolina on WRAL-TV in the Triangle. But perhaps his relationship with this state and this university was never better on display than during the annual late-night event to begin basketball season every year. Stuart hosted that 10 times between 2001 and 2012. He became synonymous with the evening, adding star power, humor, and his own personal touch, which resonated with Tar Heels everywhere. You know, to me, and you saw it in the video, the moment at that event which really captures Stuart's relationship with Tar Heel athletics was that time when he bent down at center court. Now that's sacred ground, right, for Carolina fans. And he was down on one knee and he pointed to that NC, and you know the quote. He said, "That's what it's about right there. That's on the floor, that's on your shirt, that's in your heart. That's why we're all here." You know, Stu got it, right? He connected with the 20,000 people in that building because he, just like they all were Tar Heels. So today, and I'll take some liberties with Stu's words here, he's what it's all about. He's in our heart. And he, Stuart Scott, is why we're all here. We really do have a great program coming up for you. And it starts with a woman who has achieved at the highest level of broadcasting, at strategic communication, and in education. The Dean of UNC's School of Media and Journalism, and the school's John Thomas Carr Distinguished Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Dean Susan King.
Jones Angel, a grad of our school, this is a night for Tar Heel talent. Looking at your faces as you were looking at that video, it was just smiles. Isn't it great to see? Will Reimer, one of our grads, did that video, and I think it's pretty terrific. North Carolina's Hall of Fame, Journalism Hall of Fame, began in 1980, and it was started to recognize great journalists. Some were UNC grads, some just had North Carolina roots. Usually those recognized are at the end of their careers. Well, for the past decade, of course, Stuart Scott's career has been on fire, a young man making a mark. Cancer slowed him down, but barely. He fought back until last January. And tonight, I think we all wish that he was here to feel the glow of success, to see your smiles, to realize the power of his career. He simply died too young. But tonight, I'm so thrilled that his family can feel Stu's impact on a generation, on sports broadcasting, and on UNC. Stu's parents, Jackie and Ray Scott, right up here front. His siblings, Cynthia, Stephen, and Susan. His daughters, Taylor and Sydney. And his friends, you're all too numerous to name. We are so glad you are with us. It was clear for the committee that when the letters came in from around the country soon after his death, from graduates and students like Timothy Day, who's with us tonight, all of them were nominating Stuart for this Journalism Hall of Fame, that we had to do something different this year. Yes, Stuart Scott was a new voice in broadcasting, an authentic voice that challenged a new generation of students to find their own voice. You heard them say that. Listen to this nominator, Jonathan Jones, a Charlotte Observer sports reporter, a 2012 grad. Before Stuart Scott, being a sports broadcaster was cool. He didn't invent that. It was a profession that was almost entirely open only to white men. Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann infused fun with talking about sports. But Stuart Scott revolutionized it for people. He brought a culture to viewers that a large portion of the country had either avoided or been oblivious to. In short, he talked and looked like us. He wrote, Stuart Scott showed me that it was cool to talk about sports the way you talk to your friend. He showed me it was possible for a young black kid in North Carolina to go on to talk about sports news nationally. And in his letter, Jones talked about meeting Scott, and of course, getting that cell phone number. And he ended his nomination letter. He gave us all hope. In his amazing and open book, Every Day I Fight, Scott made it clear he wasn't thinking about being cool. He was just being himself. As he put it, what I was doing on air caught on because I was not calculated. I was just being myself, writing and talking about sports the way I would with Stephen or Fred or any one of my boys, and that came through. In the sports world, there's one thing called the coaching tree. A coach affects players and creates a network that is groomed in a culture. Stuart Scott created a broadcasting coaching tree. And there are now hundreds of young journalists, men and women, black and white, who will be true to their experience, authentic, real, talented. And I think you heard some of them tonight. I think Stuart and all of us here, but just one second, I believe that those young people will be Stuart Scott's legacy. He was a pioneer. And I only wish that he was here tonight to feel that gift that he shared with the public and this new generation. And I think he would be very pleased tonight, as are we, to be honored to have the Chancellor be part of this 2015 Journalism Hall of Fame. Carol Folt brings with her the enthusiasm of a fan, the rigor of a scholar, and the inspiration of a leader. Thank you. Let's give a welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Before we begin the actual induction of our next honoree, I'd just like to take a moment to also recognize that there are a couple other Hall of Famers who are with us here this evening. And I know of two. If there are others here, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were here. But I know we have Farrell Guillory here, who was inducted in 2007, and also Erwin Smallwood from 1990. Could you raise your hand? Thank you. You know, it is a terrible regret for me that I didn't have a chance to get to know Stuart. I knew of Stuart. Before I came, I had followed him for years. I mean, he was a very big presence and even had a chance to communicate with him indirectly when I came here, but I would have just loved to have known him. But I have heard more stories about him and seen his influence, so I'm going to share a little bit of that perspective with you tonight. He was, in every way possible, of course, a game changer. And that was a game changer, not only in sports broadcasting, and also changing the way an entire generation consumes sports and relates to sports, and also how we think about the news and analysis of this rapidly growing and very important business. But he was also a person, as you've heard and you all know, who was really a trailblazer in the way he brought forward diverse voices, voices to be heard and valued, and brought them right smack dab into the mainstream. He gave a commencement address. You saw a little piece of it here in the film in 2001. And from what I saw and read, I've read the entire address, it was thoughtful, it was smart, it was incisive and witty, it was authentic, it was provocative, and I wish you could write my speeches for me. I mean, he was amazing, and he said to the students in language they could completely relate to, which is exactly what you want at that special moment for them. He said, I'm blessed to have gone to school here for 4 years. There is something about this campus, the tradition here, the social life, the athletics, the academics, the pride of being a Tar Heel. And he shared that kind of wisdom and experience, as you're hearing from so many testimonies, in a way that young people can embrace. And that really is what is so important. That's what we all want to see. But he also gave them a challenge, which of course they also want. He challenged them, and he said that they needed to stand up for the overlooked and the underheard. And when he said that, it really meant something to them. And then he said something that I think is really beautiful. He said, understand the power in your words. Be aware and embrace the world's diversity. Make a difference. That is a challenge that all of our graduates want to hear, they want to believe in. And I think what made Stuart saying it so special is they could see in him a person who lived that every single day with such grace and humor and energy. So on camera, of course, he was a very big personality. I want you to all help me say booyah on 1, 2, 3. We're going to shout it out. 1, 2, 3. Booyah! I wish one could be able to say that, right? You know, but he had those amazing, infectious catchphrases, and he had a groundbreaking approach to broadcasting that has just been joyful and wonderful and clever and humorous. That's a wonderful set of things to bring together. And off camera, of course, when he was back here in Chapel Hill, he was a very big personality with a big heart, and I think that touched everyone, but it was about his spirit. And as you could see, it wasn't just to famous people, it was to students, it was to everybody. That open heart, just the fact that he gave out his cell phone to everybody, just tells you what kind of person he was. And I think people drew great pride. He became, for so many people, the spirit of Carolina, a dream of what this place could be. And we thank the family for sharing him with us and allowing us to come together today in honor of him, because he is, for so many of us, what we dream our graduates can be. And I think he lived that through his career, and he brought it forward. We could look at him with such pride, and certainly pride in all he accomplished, but his strength of character was also something from which we grew great, great pride. As he said in his legendary SB speech, our life's journey is really about the people who touch us. He touched the lives of so many people. We're all here today, and millions around the country feel the same way. And he touched them because of how he lived, why he lived, the manner, the joy in which he lived, and especially how he fought cancer. And I've been taken by this phrase I've heard others say, that Stuart beat cancer because he won at life. His impact grows. I love your coaching tree. He is living on in that example. His effect on our community is so great. And also he lives on through the Stuart Scott Foundation, that wonderful foundation which is really taking his legacy of service for cancer fighters, particularly, and so beautifully, for those who have limited means, and providing resources and services to keep them on, and I love this too, on the life path they were on before they had been diagnosed. He set an example of courage and perseverance and dignity for those who knew him and loved him, and through that foundation, it passes on to many more people. This is something that is meaningful for all of us, and what a wonderful opportunity to induct him into such a terrific part of our history, our Hall of Fame. He never forgot where he was from. He never missed an opportunity to call out Tar Heel when a former Carolina athlete was being in a highlight or he was interviewing. He loved Carolina. He wore it on his sleeve. We're all wearing it on our lapels. Today, we're wearing him right with us. As I told his father earlier today, I think that everyone at Carolina loves Stuart for many reasons. I think his joyful presence is very important to us, but I do truly think that he is what we all aspire to be. So in so many ways, he is and always will be for us a vision of our better self. So it is such an honor to be able to be with you to celebrate that. And now I have a chance to introduce another wonderful Tar Heel, Mia Hamm, who will do the honors of introducing Stuart Scott into the Journalism Hall of Fame and presenting Stuart's sister Susan with the award. You know, this is a big day for me. I am a true sports fan, so I'm getting to talk about two amazing, amazing people. In fact, I'm shaking with the excitement. But Mia Hamm, of course, is a legend of sport, Hall of Famer, National Soccer Hall of Fame, World Football Hall of Fame, Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, Texas Sports Hall of Fame. North Carolina's got to get going on this one. And here in North Carolina, all she did was many, many things, including leading the Tar Heels to 4 national championships. And then there was the year that she took off to help another organization, the United States, in its premier World Cup title. That's where I first think I got to know and watch Mia. That, of course, was the first of 2 World Cup victories for Mia with the U.S. team. And her inspiration for millions of young girls is not able to calculate. Such an important part, and a few girls that aren't so young, too. She was the ACC Player of the Year and All-American 3 times. She was the ACC Female Athlete of the Year twice. And she, too, has an impact that is much larger than all of her wonderful accomplishments on the soccer pitch. She started the Mia Hamm Foundation, among many things that she's done. And this foundation is designed to raise awareness and funds for families needing bone marrow or cord blood transplant. And it encourages people to register into the National Bone Marrow Registry and provides funds right here to the UNC Healthcare and Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. My last little story before I welcome Mia is that this year I went out to Nike, to the campus at Nike, where I was going for a day-long event. And guess what building we were in? We were in the Mia Hamm building, which is the largest building on the Nike campus. Yes. It's also, and I think this is probably what made me most excited, it's the place where all the innovation is discussed. It is the center for innovation, and I learned a very fun fact. It's a very long building, and what they told me is if you took it horizontally, made it vertically, it would be the tallest building in Oregon. Please join me in welcoming Mia.
I just want to say thank you so much. I am so humbled to be here to honor such an incredible man. And I'll try to keep it together. Stuart is like a brother, and just so wonderful to be here. You know, I've been thinking a lot about what I wanted to say, and hearing Chancellor Holt, and you know, I wanted to give you more insight into Stuart Scott, the man. But to be honest with you, you already know him. You see, Stuart was exactly who you saw on TV. Whether it was his early days on ESPN, The Ocho. Everyone got that joke? In studio, hosting SportsCenter, or on the court of the NBA Finals, or on the field for Monday Night Football. And of course, opening up the Carolina basketball season with Coach Williams. Stu was the same, whether he was in front of the camera or if he was just hanging with his boys, talking about sports. He was never acting. You see, Stuart was real. He was genuine. And he was full of life. Every night that you tuned in to watch him, you saw the love and passion for what he did. By the energy he put into every single show. You witnessed the respect he had for his colleagues and his craft, and just how committed and prepared he was. Yeah, that's not my problem. compassion in how he interacted and even befriended the athletes he covered. For Stuart was an athlete, and that gave him amazing insights and connection with them to as professionals and as people. You know, as we gather here today to speak about all we love about Stuart Scott the professional and Stuart Scott the man, I'm reminded of those powerful words while he was accepting the Jimmy V Perseverance Award. He said, when you die, it doesn't mean you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, in the manner in which you live. And as I look at his two daughters, Taylor and Sydney, who embody all that he lived for, as he said, his heartbeat, and his loving parents, and his amazing family. So I ask you, let us find it in our hearts to truly honor him going forward by living our lives with more honor, with more integrity, with fairness, compassion, grace, dignity, and above all, joy. To be completely present in the company of others, because Stuart always was. When you were talking to him, he was there with you. And let's be kinder and more loving to one another. And always remember, what bound Stuart to so many of us in this room is what he knew and what so many of us feel. That every day is a great day to be a Tar Heel. So it is my honor to invite Stuart's Rock, his sister, Susan Scott, up to the podium.
Although it's smudgy, that's going home with Taylor and Sydney. It's a beautiful award. It is with great honor that I stand before you. Folks, Stuart loved Carolina. There are not words. And he would be honored by the stature of the institution and all that the media and journalism department and school stand for. Let me reverse things though. You know how there's always that, oh, and I want to thank everyone at the end. Let's do the things at the beginning. This was a passion project for everyone involved. And I'd like to share with you who are the bright souls who made it possible for all of us to celebrate this event, our family's deepest thanks. First, please allow me to thank Chancellor Carol Fold, thank you so much, and Dean Susan King for hosting us for this very, very special ceremony. But I'm not finished. A special thank you to my friends at Capitol Broadcasting for helping to underwrite this ceremony. Your belief in Stuart has been evident since the late 80s. Mia Hamm. What you guys should know is that meeting Stuart's friends usually took place on a golf course or a golf tournament. So I meeting you, Mia, and tonight your grace and perception in describing and inducting Stuart is perfect. Thank you. Wendy Gratz-Orman, Will Reimer, and sweet, generous Kyle York. Thank you to all of the people we cannot see, with a special mention to the behind-the-scenes support from the athletic department and Coach Roy's department. But with humility, I must extend my thanks to the students who clamored to have Stuart inducted. Thank you for being so inspired by Stuart and what he stood for, and for modeling yourselves after him. That would really delight him. Okay, so look, if you had been Stuart's older sibling, you would hardly have imagined you'd be standing here. There are several questionable images from which to choose. The 3-year-old wearing nothing but underoos and cowboy boots. The 85-pound weakling bench pressing to the theme from Rocky. The 14-year-old little brother who cried when Carolina lost basketball games. Or the RTVMP broadcast journalism student with a very heavy lisp. None of those situations or images prepared any of us to imagine that Stuart would contribute to the continuum of influence, excellence, and culture change, like past media and journalism Hall of Fame members Charles Kuralt, Harry Amana, Alan Mask, or Chris Matthews. As a man who dedicated his professional life and energies to journalism and sports, this is a pretty phenomenal feat. His induction, though, further validates Stuart's impact within the sports industry, broader media, and among fans. His on-screen personality was compelling, and it captivated ESPN audiences. On its own, that would be enough. But in the last few years of his life, as Stuart publicized his cancer fight, somehow he became a kind of sports, social, anti-cancer fighter, alchemist. He became a teacher. Henry Adams wrote, "A teacher affects eternity." He can never tell where his influence stops. Stuart led his life and made cancer a secondary consideration when he could. You know, the hell of it is, I don't know why some of us survive cancer and it takes others, but I do know this. It is never about beating it physically, because in the end, we're all just dust. It is about beating it mentally, and perhaps even more important, spiritually. And on those two fronts, Stuart Scott was a boss. He was a rock star. And he was a role model, as Mia and all the previous speakers have said. During his last extended hospital stay, he envisioned getting better and starting an organization that focused on caring for cancer fighters in their everyday struggle to live normal lives, as he was able to live fully. At his request, we have started the Stuart O. Scott Foundation to enable fighters to be themselves and stay on their life's path for as long as possible. They're normal. Stuart-Scott.org. Another way of maintaining his influence. And while Aeschylus, that's a Greek poet philosopher for some of you, was correct, there is no pain so great as the memory of joy in present grief. A recognition of this magnitude from an institution that Stuart wholly adored maintains his place here materially and spiritually. On behalf of my sweet dear parents, who paid for a superior education for kids in Carolina classes of 79, 83, and 87, Stuart would love this. Thank you to everyone who celebrates with us and who loved, respected, and admired Stuart. Yo, Tahi! Thank you.
Everybody again for coming this afternoon. What a tremendous event, and what a tremendous man that we had the opportunity to honor and celebrate today. We hope you continue to do so. There will be a reception right behind you, and we hope you'll enjoy some fellowship, some food, and some drink. And also, we hope you'll come over to the Smith Center tonight for Late Night with Roy, where we get a tip off the men's and women's basketball season. And we're really excited to get a chance to honor Stu again at a ceremony during that event. So once again, thank you all for being here this afternoon, and go Eagles.